Hey guys, welcome to my channel, and this is December, the last month of the year 2020. 2020 will be remembered by a lot of us as the year of the COVID-19 virus, and what havoc has it wreaked upon us. But if we put that aside, 2020 has also been a very exciting year for myself and for Sonos lovers out there. Now 2020 is the year that I started this channel, and I started looking at Sonos in detail. I started going into every product, I started testing them, I started doing frequency response curves, and I started digging into these speakers in depth like no other YouTuber has on YouTube. And if you have enjoyed my video so far, I hope you have subscribed. If you have not yet subscribed, do consider subscribing, and we will go into the year 2021 into more exciting stuff from Sonos. Now, before we end the year, and this is the gifting season, so today we have a very exciting video, and that is my gift guide for the whole Sonos entire range of whatever is available, whatever is being sold by Sonos today. It is definitely a very big episode, a very exciting episode. As you can see, I had to zoom out the camera angle a little bit as I couldn't fit everything that I have. And in fact, whatever you see here, I'm only putting one of the product. So for those of the things that I have a pair of, I don't even have it. I have two subs, but I can't place the two of them here. I don't have physically enough space here. So stay around, and I will give you the quick lowdown on the gift guide on what you can give to your partner, to your friends, your family for the holiday season of the year 2020. And as usual, before I go on to my videos in depth, and this is going to be a big long episode, I will give you a summary table up front. I can't quite summarize what you can get because Sonos, they have movie theater stuff, they have music stuff, and depending on what you need and depending on the budget, it is quite different. So I can't give you a summary answer up front, but I've listed all the speakers that are available from Sonos in the year 2020, which includes even the Sonos, or rather the IKEA Symphonix speakers, which they collaborated with Sonos to produce. And if you look at this chart up here, I have listed the height, the weight, the depth, I've listed the idle power, and I have also added extra columns that talk about whether there's a presence of a mic, whether there's surround capabilities, whether you can add these speakers as surround. I have added whether you can do HDMI in, line out. And the last couple of columns, the last 6 columns, are very specific features that you can get with a few of these products. But, well, if you have time, stay on and I will go into each of the products in detail. If you don't have time, pause the video right here, check out the list. I don't think you are getting this list from anywhere else on YouTube. Nobody else is going in depth into Sonos products like I do. So I'm going to keep the list up there. You can reference it as we go through. First, the Sonos One. This is the speaker. I'm going to be able to lift up some of the speakers. Some of them I won't be able to for obvious reasons as they're too big and too bulky. Now this is the Sonos One. There are two versions of this guy, and it is the one with the mic and One SL. They are currently in Gen 2. This is probably the entry-level speaker that can help anyone get into the Sonos ecosystem. It sounds okay. If you're interested in any of the reviews that I've done, please do check out the rest of my videos. It's probably too many of them to list in the links above here as usual, but check out my whole channel. You'll be able to see reviews. I've done extensive tests on almost all of these products here. The Sonos One is also available in a mic-free version. In other words, no voice assistant. And that is the One SL. It costs about $20 cheaper than the regular One, but it is also available, same as the Sonos One, in black and white. I have the black one available here. I have not placed the Sonos Play ones because they are a little bit older, and I basically don't have space here. If you head out into the stores today and you want to buy new, you can't buy the Play ones anyway. They are, however, still being supported. So Sonos is good at supporting their products for a very long time. And case in point, the Sonos Play 3, which also I have a pair of them, but I'm not putting up here due to space constraint. They are 9 years old and they're still being supported by Sonos. A lot of people ask me about how, whether they should consider Sonos or this Clips or any Samsung or whatever. But think about it, right? Sonos supports their stuff for a very long time, and they keep pushing out updates. When some of the older Sonos speakers were being launched, they were launched without TruePlay. TruePlay is a form of room correction, which was rolled out as a software update to their speakers in the later years. and even that was being pushed to the older speakers. So that's the kind of support that you can get from Sonos. So this is the Sonos One. I'll give you a close-up look. There's a woofer and a tweeter here. Very compact, very small size speaker. Moisture resistance, you can put them up singly or in a pair to create a stereo image. And the good part about Sonos is you can actually kind of mix and match. This serves as surround speakers as well. So if you know someone with a Beam or with an Arc and do not have surround speakers, you can gift a pair of these to them and they will be able to deploy them in the surround speakers. This goes for US $200. In Singapore, it's $329, which you can get some discounts for the month of December. I'll share that with you in a while. Okay, this is available in black and white. Very simple speaker, and because they are moisture resistant, you can also deploy a pair of them in a damp environment like maybe your washroom or your closet, where there's likely to be moisture, but they are moisture resistant, so you will be able to use them in those situations. Next up, this is the Sonos Move, a very important product for Sonos. Why? Because if you look at the chart, this has a few features that none of the other Sonos speakers have, which is the auto true play. So usually if you use these speakers and you want to true play them, you've got to go through a process. You've got to get yourself an supported iOS device, and you start doing the waving around the room, and it will start to throw up some tunes, and it will be able to correct itself for this deployment wherever you're trying to put them in the room. For the Sonos Move, they are portable. It has a battery included. It is also a Bluetooth speaker. Basically, whenever you move them, it will automatically try to listen out to how it's sounding and correct itself. That's auto true play, that's Bluetooth, and that's battery, which is only available on the Sonos Move. Now, the sound is actually a very big sound coming from this guy. It's one woofer and one dispersion tweeter built into this guy. You won't have the kind of sound that's coming out from the Sonos 5, but it is definitely bigger and louder than the Sonos One that we have here. A lot of people are thinking that this is the replacement for the Sonos Play 3, which is 9 years old now, but to me, I don't think it is. I do hope that Sonos comes out with a Sonos 3, which is an update to the Sonos Play 3. Now, bear in mind, this can also be paired in a stereo form, but being portable, being capable of being moved around the house rather, to have it stereo paired kind of defeats the purpose. You can move it and you'll break the stereo image. So whether you're going to do that or not, whether there's a purpose in doing that, I'm not very sure, but it does allow you to use it in a stereo format. One thing to note about the Sonos Move is that they cannot be used as surround in a home theater setup. So you won't be able to use this together with your Arc or your Beam to act as a rear surround channel. Other than that, there's a built-in battery, 11 hours of playback, also available in this black and lunar white, as with a lot of Sonos speakers. And then we have the big boy here. Now, I was considering whether to lift this up to show you or not, because this is a heavy speaker. It weighs in about 6 kg. Well, this is a stereo speaker actually, even one on its own. There are 3 woofers and 3 tweeters. The tweeters are angled to the left and the right. I've done an in-depth review on this guy. This is a new version of the Sonos Play 5. They don't call it the Play 5 anymore. They're calling it the Sonos 5. The newest one available in the year 2020. So same as the Sub Gen 3 as well as the Sonos Arc, these will work only on the Sonos S2 platform. The bass on these guys, they are tremendous. Now, the thing about this guy is that you can also use it as rear surround channel. So the possibilities of deploying this guy are limitless. If you allow me, I would say that I use this, oh, that's heavy. I use this as stereo speakers. So I set up the pair of them. When I am not pairing them for testing in a surround setup, they work wonderfully well for music. I'll go through a little bit more in detail on how I deploy some of these in a while, what they're suited for, whether it's suitable for home theater or whether it's suitable for music. One notable feature on this Sonos 5 is that it has a line-in jack. The very first version of the Sonos Play 5 Gen 1, it actually has a line out as well. Well, it's basically to plug in your headphones and you can listen. Well, but this one, it drops the line out, so you won't get that anymore, but it does have a line in. So if you have a music source like a turntable, you can actually plug this in and you can pipe your music source around to all your connected Sonos speakers just because you have a line in coming onto this. Now, if you deploy this speaker as real surround channel, do note that the line in is actually going to be disabled when they are in surround configuration. Okay, let's put this back down. Now, the bad boy, this is the Sonos Sub. It is currently in Gen 3. The Sonos S2 platform supports Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3 of the Sub. So as long as you have a Sub, it will still work today. Now, this is what I'm talking about, okay? There are some minor changes to the Sub Gen 3 from the Sub Gen 2. I think it was not very well documented, not very well marketed, but I've done in-depth studies on that. I've done a lot of research into the differences. So do check out the videos and go through my whole channel. You will find, and if you search for the Sonos Sub Gen 3 and the Sub Gen 2 differences, you will find all the differences I've listed down and I found out between the Sub Gen 2 and the Sub Gen 3. The Sub is a very versatile speaker. On its own, it does nothing. You need to pair it with something. You can pair it with a pair of the Sonos One, a pair of the Sonos Move, a pair of the Sonos Fives. You can pair it with the Arc, you can pair it with the Beam, you can pair it with even the IKEA Symphonics bookshelf or the lamp speakers. I don't have the lamp speakers, it's way too big. I know I will have a lamp somewhere. I can deploy that. I just haven't got around to it. Maybe I'll just get my hands on the lamp one day and do the testing on the Sonos lamp. But if you know of someone with Sonos speakers, what you can do is, if you have the budget for it, buy the Sonos Sub for the person. It will put a smile and a grin on him so wide it will last till the next Christmas. Well, the Sub is definitely not cheap. It's retailing for about $700 US, and in Singapore it's $1,149. But it is a very worthy addition to your Sonos lineup. In fact, I have two of them. I have the Gen 2 and I have the Gen 3 as well. If you ask me which is better, it really depends on whether you listen to music or you listen to home theater more. But what you can get today is the Sub Gen 3. Get the Sub Gen 3. You won't regret it. Now moving on, I have in front of me, this is a soundbar. This is the Sonos Beam. I have it in white. There's a fabric cover in front of this. It's very compact. It measures about 60 odd centimeters, probably about just a little over 2 feet wide. Now, it is a 3-channel speaker on its own, right? Left, right, and center. Now, the connection, it uses a HDMI in. So if you refer to the chart again, you see that this is one of 3 Sonos products that has a HDMI in, which means to say it will take an input from your TV through the HDMI ARC port. The Sonos M does that, the Sonos Beam does that, and the Sonos Arc does that. Now, if you have an optical output from your TV, fret not, you can also get an optical adapter, which comes with the Beam actually, and you can convert that signal into an HDMI input for the Sonos Beam. So for those of you with a smaller TV and doesn't quite accommodate the monster Sonos Arc, which is 114 centimeters here, you can consider this. For a small room, it is really sufficient. And the width, the soundstage is actually pretty reasonable. And the price of this guy is $399, $400 US, okay? And in Singapore, they are running a promotion on that. It will usually cost $699, but if you buy it from TC Acoustic, which is the Sonos authorized distributor in Singapore, you'll be able to get it during this period at $629. That's a very good deal for a very, very capable soundbar. It is not big, very compact, slips under your TV non-obstructively, and it has Google Assistant. If you are using Amazon Alexa, it will work too. It has a built-in mic. Now, for the Sonos Beam, they have the Shadow Edition, which is like the SL edition, which is mic-free. You save a bit of money on that, and if that's your thing, well, go for it. Now, the good thing about a setup with Sonos is that you only need one speaker in your surround setup to have a mic, and the whole setup will be able to be controlled via the voice assistant. So you could technically buy a Sonos One SL, which is $20 cheaper, and then pair it with a Sonos One. You pay a little bit more, and you'll be able to get voice assistant using that setup. So this is the very small and compact Sonos Beam. Very important product. This was one of the first products with a HDMI input. And the other soundbar that Sonos has, which caused a big, huge stir in the market, is this guy. Should I move it? No. This is how long it is now. I'm not going to be able to hold it up, so I'm just going to put it back down. This is a 11 driver speaker. This is an 11 driver soundbar, and it actually is Atmos capable. I'm not able to hold it up. Now, it is Atmos capable, and it also has a built-in mic for voice assistant. Now, there are two drivers at the top of this, which will fire upwards Atmos signals to bounce off your ceiling so that you can get top firing channels. It also has woofers at the sides, firing sideways, which will simulate a surround. So technically, if you wanted to skim on the rear surround channels, or you don't have the space to deploy surround speakers, you can technically just make do with the Sonos Arc, and you'll be able to throw you a virtual surround as well as the Atmos upward firing speaker to give you a very immersive Atmos sound feel. But bear in mind that that requires that your TV has a HDMI ARC or HDMI eARC output that will be able to support Atmos. They have recently launched an update which updated the Sonos Arc to be able to accept LPCM multi-channel surround sound. So even your DTS Blu-ray players, they will be able to project multi-channel sounds to your Sonos Arc. But that is not the same as Atmos. Don't get confused. It is multi-channel, it is surround sound, but not Atmos. Overall, the sound, the bass from the Sonos Arc is actually very, very good. Initially, when they launched, they did have a few problems with the bass, and I've tested that extensively as well. Again, search for it if you are interested. But all current versions, the current software, the current firmware has solved that issue, and you won't get that problem anymore. Now, I've touched on the two soundbars that Sonos produces, and you can buy them today. Both very capable, depending on the size of your room, depending on your need, depending on your TV capabilities, or whether it supports Atmos or it has a HDMI ARC, eARC output port. You can choose either. The Sonos Arc is currently pretty pricey. It's probably one of the most expensive products that Sonos has put out. It costs $800, and in Singapore it's $1,499. Not exactly spare change, but it's a very, very capable soundbar. And bear in mind, again, these can be paired with rear surround as well as the Sonos Sub. It completes the whole home theater setup. So I've gone through the speakers, and you might notice that I have two small boxes here. Well, unfortunately, a lot of my stuff are all in black, so maybe you can't really see, but let me pick this up for you. This is the Sonos Port. Okay, what does the Sonos Port do? It's a very small device. If you look at it, this is the Sonos M. Okay, I'll talk about them one at a time. The Sonos Port allows you to have inputs and outputs, line in and line out, RCA line level, which if you have a turntable, you can actually output into this, or if you have an M powering existing speakers that you have, you can actually line out from this, play your songs through Sonos S2 app, and have it port to those speakers that are being driven by your existing M. So basically, if you have all this setup lying all around, you can play your sounds through any of these speakers that I have here, as well as through this. But what it requires is an external M. There is also a 12-volt trigger, which when it senses a signal, sends a 12-volt trigger to turn on your M if it is 12-volt triggered. Another unique feature to the Sonos Port is that this is the only Sonos product in the whole lineup that has a digital output. This is a coaxial digital output, so if you have another preamp that can accept digital outputs and you want to use that, you can actually use this guy to power it out. And even if one of the newer integrated amps, you can actually integrate that into your whole Sonos lineup. Now, you might be wondering, if you don't have an amp, what happens now? This is where the Sonos M comes in. This is a relatively new product. I believe it's launched within the last 18 months or so. Now, it is basically the Sonos Port, but with an amplifier section that is built in. It is a relatively big product as compared to the Sonos Port, but as far as amplifiers go, this is a digital amp. It is actually pretty compact, pretty small, and pretty light, but 125 watts per channel. I've driven a pair of SVS floor standards with this, no issues. Today I'm using this amp to drive my 4 ceiling speakers. I've paired them up in parallel to run off these 2 channels. So technically you can pair up to 6 speakers, But you've got to be careful. Make sure that the impedance doesn't drop below 2 ohms on a sustained basis. It might blow this guy. I'm not suggesting that. So if you have a pair of even very large floor standers, hook it up to these guys, you'll be able to get enough power to power those floor standers. What it has here is, it is one of the 3 products beside the 2 soundbar here that will accept HDMI in. So technically, you can link this up to your TV using the HDMI ARC port, and you will be able to output and drive your speakers. So basically upgrading your sound from the TV with floor standing speakers or any bookshelf speakers. I've paired them with BMW 607 as well. Well, the results are not too bad. Now, a unique feature, a very unique feature to this product here is, if you look at the chart, it has a sub output. Okay, so this is the only product that will be able to pair up with an external third-party subwoofer. So if you don't like this guy for any reason, no reason why you shouldn't like this guy, but I digress. If you have an existing sub, you have a 12-inch, you have a 15-inch, and for goodness sake, if you have an 18 or 21-inch, you can actually hook that up here. So this is a very versatile product. So can you imagine, you have a TV, all you need is this guy, drive your 2 speakers, and you can be able to create a 2.1 by just adding a sub to this. The sub has to be a powered sub. This is just line level output. So I've tested this before, 250 watts, no problem. In fact, I think it went up to over 300 watts in my testing. Now you would have realized that I skipped one product, which is the Sonos Boost. Now the Sonos Boost, which I'm going to be putting up here, it is not something that I needed. In fact, what the Sonos Boost does is that it creates a network for all the Sonos speakers around your house. It separates it from your Wi-Fi network. So none of the audio traffic that Sonos requires is going to be passing over your wireless network, and it doesn't have to compete with the bandwidth requirements of all your phones, your laptop, your TVs, and your other streamers. It creates a separate network on its own, and it will be able to link up all your Sonos speakers using the Sonos Net. Now, why am I not using it? Because if you take a look at any of the Sonos products, you'll realize that they have Ethernet ports. Okay, the M has it, the Port has it, I don't carry this guy, but the Fives has it. Basically everything, including the IKEA Symphonics bookshelf, it has the Ethernet port as well. Now, when you plug any just one of your speakers into your router, you will be able to create the Sonos Net from that one speaker. And all the other speakers in your house will then hook onto that particular network, freeing your Wi-Fi, freeing your current network from all the Sonos traffic. Just one speaker. Could be your subwoofer, could be your Beam, could be your Arc, could be any of your surround speakers, anything. That is why I have not used the Sonos Boost, because I plug in my Beam, which is very near my router, to the router directly. So from there, it creates a network that will cross one floor, it will cross across the walls, and it will reach into other rooms, connecting all my Sonos speakers. So I've not found a use for the Sonos Boost, but if your router is in an enclosed space or it is out of reach, and it doesn't make sense to use any speaker, even the cheapest Sonos One or the IKEA Symphonics, which is at $99, then it doesn't make sense to stick this guy into the cabinet. Maybe your router is behind this door and you put it inside, you're wasting it. So if it doesn't make sense to put a speaker into your cabinet or where your router is, or your router is out of reach, then consider the Sonos Boost. The Sonos Boost is, I think it's about $119, and while it's more expensive than this, but it takes up much less space than this and probably consumes less power than this guy. So if you have any problems with your network, if you have any issues with connectivity between your speakers or any syncing issues, then consider the Sonos Move. Consider the Sonos Boost. It makes for a very great small little gift. If you know a Sonos lover amongst your friends, amongst your family, that could be the one thing that they are missing. And finally, having cleared all the Sonos branded speakers, this is the collaboration between IKEA and Sonos. So the IKEA has a bookshelf under the Symphonics range, as well as a Sonos lamp under the Symphonics range. Now, this has removable grille. I have also done some in-depth review on this guy. I've tested this guy. very small driver. The sound is arguably not as good as the Sonos One or the One SL, but it is $99. In Singapore, it goes for $179. It is by far the cheapest way into the Sonos ecosystem. So if you want to consider it, do consider it. It acts as a bookshelf as well. So you could wall mount it, buy the wall mount kit, comes with a silicone pad, and you can place books or you can support stuff on it. Now, the other way you can use this guy is also as surround channel. So most of the speakers I've talked about, including the Sonos M actually, can be used as surround speakers. So I've used the Sonos M. In fact, the current configuration of my Sonos M driving my 4 ceiling speakers, they are actually paired with the Sonos Arc and delivering my surround sound. I know the sound feel is not really accurate, but it provides for a very immersive sound feel. So I'm seated there, when I'm playing a surround sound soundtrack, the sound comes from all over me. So there you go. I've covered all the Sonos products that you can buy in the year 2020. Now, the gift guide. Oh my God, it's been taking a long time. The gift guide, I am going to cover the gift guide in 2 approaches. One is I will consider the use case, right? So let's take away this chart. So I'm going to flash up these 2 charts. So these 2 charts will show you my recommendation for a movie setup or for a music setup. Now, if you look at the left chart, the chart on the left right now, you see all the various combinations that I'm recommending, right? You can do other combinations if you can figure it out, or you can drop me a comment in the comment section below. Tell me what you're considering and I can help you out with your selection for either movies or music. But look at the chart. I don't think I have time, and I don't think you have the patience to hear me go through every single combination. But right at the top of it, if you look at the Sonos Beam, it is $450 US dollars. Okay, in Singapore it goes for $699, $700. They're running a promotion on the Sonos Beam now in Singapore. TC Acoustic is selling it for $629. That's a good $70 off, which is 10% off. Very, very rare that you get this kind of prices. So do check this out if you are in the market for a soundbar. This is the cheapest entry into the movies. Now, you can pair this up with a sub. It brings the price up. You can pair it up with a sub and the Sonos One, maybe in a SL format. Or you can even go for the Arc if you are so inclined. The Arc is pretty expensive right now. The prices are all there. It's correct at the time of me publishing this video. If the prices change in the future, I don't know. But depending on when you're looking at it, if you're looking at it as I launch this video, the price list is accurate. The combination of the Sonos Arc can go with 2 SLs, it can go with 2 1SL, or you can pair it with a sub for a full complete 5.1.2 experience. And not to mention the Sonos M. The Sonos M is actually very, very capable of driving a home theater setup as well. It has the HDMI ARC input. So basically, if you have your bookshelf speakers already, or you have your existing speakers and your existing sub, you can actually pair this up to create a 2-channel or 2.1 channel surround sound. This can also be paired with your Sonos Beam or your Sonos Arc to act as the rear surround channels. Or you could pair 2 of these together. 2 to drive the front and 2 to drive the rear. The front will actually create a phantom center channel. Then we move on to the music. The music, okay, you can ignore the Sonos Beam and the Sonos Arc, but the music, you have the Ones, you have the Moves, you have the Sonos Fives. You can also use the amp, you can also use the port to input and output into your existing amp, or take inputs from your turntable. So again, I think it is too much for me to go through all one by one. If you look at these 2 charts, pause the video here, you can look at it, make your consideration. I've listed the pricing down below. So for this last part of the Sonos gift guide, I am going to throw up a chart here, and this is a recommendation for all budget, all the way from $100 up to $2,500. Now, if you go through the list, I have the US dollars on the left and the Singapore dollars on the right. And I have a recommended list and an alternative for every single budget. Now, first off, at $100 US dollars, you could buy a Sonos Boost, but the Sonos Boost, bear in mind, the person, the gift recipient, needs to have Sonos speakers at home. If he doesn't have Sonos speakers, the Boost is not going to do anything. If he only has 1 speaker, again, the Boost is not going to be very useful at all. The alternative is you could buy the IKEA Symphonics bookshelf speaker, and this is $100. Very, very cheap, and on its own, it's able to play sound already. It is a speaker on its own. When you double the budget up to $200, you could get the Sonos One or the Sonos One SL and have $20 spare change. The alternative for $200 is you could buy a pair of the IKEA Symphonics bookshelf speaker. And I always prefer stereo, better imaging. For $400, you could get the Sonos Move, a very important speaker. This is a splash resistant speaker. It's Bluetooth, battery powered, auto true play. It is a single speaker. You could double the budget and buy a pair of them for stereo, but for $400, the Sonos Move. When you step the budget up a little bit to $500, well, in fact, the Beam isn't even up to $500, $450. And this, for movie lovers, perfect. A very small, compact soundbar. If the guy has a small pad, small house, small TV, this will probably work very, very well. And it provides surround sound. Down the road, your recipient can add surround speakers, can add a sub, but that's up to him. Or if you like him enough, wait another year and buy the sub. The alternative for $500 is you could use it all up on the Sonos 5. The Sonos 5, for music lover, this guy is a bass monster. It has 6 drivers built in, 3 woofers, 3 tweeters on its own, able to project a stereo image. Or you could buy the Port, but the Port is more for the more audiophile guys, and they must have their own amp, their own speakers, and their own music source. It has input, output. It also has a coaxial digital output. Step up the budget to $700 and you're looking at the Sonos Sub. Now this is my recommendation. You really like the guy, buy a Sub, okay? But do make sure that the person has actually some Sonos speakers at home. The Sub on its own doesn't produce anything at all. It is a slave device. But when you pair it up with the Sonos One, the Moves, the Fives, or the M, or the Soundbars, the Beam, or the Arc, it creates an extra layer of bass so addictive. The person will fall in love with you. The other way of spending your $700 is to get the Sonos M. But again, this requires the recipient to have a pair of speakers already, passive speakers, or even better still, if he has an active subwoofer, this will work very, very well to create a 2.1 setup. And it also accepts inputs from the TV. So you are creating a 2.1 channel. Now, even if he already has a Beam or an Arc, it actually acts as surround channel to the soundbars as well. When you step it up a little bit to $800, you get the Atmos capable Sonos Arc. This is the hottest Sonos product in the entire year of 2020. Now the alternative and the question that I always get asked is, do you buy a Sonos Arc or do you buy a Beam with 2 Sonos One? Very tough question to answer. If you have a relatively new TV that supports HDMI, ARC, eARC, and has Atmos support, get the Sonos Arc. If not, get the Beam with surround speakers. It will increase the listening pleasure many, many fold. When you hit the $1,000 mark, I have a hands down recommendation of getting a pair of the Sonos Fives. When you pair a pair of the Sonos Fives together and it plays stereo through it, my God, the sound for music is amazing. You don't even need a subwoofer to go with it. Alternatively, you can have a pair of the Sonos One together with a sub. That will cost about $1,001. Very, very great sound. Comparable, I would say, to a pair of the Sonos Fives. At a $1,200 budget, you could go for the Beam and the sub. The alternative being the Arc and 2 surround sound. So subwoofer or surround sound, depending on whether the guy has space for a subwoofer, depending on whether he has a new TV or not. So all these considerations. But when you step up to $1,500, you can get the Arc and the Sub. A very, very potent combination already. But then that begs the question, what about the same amount of money for the Beam, 2 Sonos Ones as surround, as well as the Sub? So this is a complete 5.1 surround sound setup. Don't need anything else. Full setup versus the Arc and the Sub. Dicey. Decisions. Let's take the decision away. Spend $2,000. You get the Arc, the Sub, and the 2 surround sound channels. Or you could get the M and the Sub together with the 2 surround sound channel. And ultimately, the most potent combination that I've ever reviewed in the Sonos lineup, at $2,500, the Sonos Arc soundbar, capable of Atmos, paired with the Sonos Fives as real surround sound channel, coupled with the Sub. This combination, ultimate Sonos combination. This has been a really, really long video. I hope you are still staying around. If you need any kind of help, if you need any kind of decisions, do drop a comment in the comment section below. And if I have the time, if I see your question, I will try my best to answer it. So for those of you who have found value in my today's ultra long video, do consider subscribing to my channel for more videos like this, for more updates on the Sonos family, and even better still, consider dropping me a small contribution to my coffee fund using my Patreon account link, which I'm going to put up in the QR code here. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas and a holiday season for the year 2020. Let's all hope that 2021 will be a better year for all of us. Meanwhile, chill and enjoy your sound. I'll see you in my next video.